87, Prayers by the Personified Vedas. Yeah, so this is going to be another special chapter in the Krishnabook, written by Srila Prabhupada as a summary study of the chapters of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the best of the Puranas for the Vaishnavas, and especially 10th canto is hailed as the one which is most wonderful, describing all about Krishna. So Prabhupada, he decided to make 10th canto as a summary study called the Krishnabook. So now in chapter 87, we'll hear about the prayers from the Personified Vedas. So Vedas are the scriptures, and they are also persons, because everything is personal in the spiritual world. Even a book is a person. Yeah.
I also, if I may, I think that
personified is a person for each of these Vedas, who is standing there with folded hands, like with a human-like body. Whenever you hear like prayers of the personified mountain or personified river or whatever, what we will see is actually a humanoid form of that body. You will see actually it's the deity of the object. Yeah, so it's actually a deity. Every object has a deity. That's the idea. So it's not like the pages of the book is speaking, like you have a book standing there somewhere or other giving sound. No, it's actually a person. Two legs, two hands, like that. Clothed, in nice clothes. Up to that level, first we have some little introduction. So King Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami about a very important topic in understanding transcendental subject matter. His question was, I'll try and we have some fun today. I'll try and mimic, different sounds. Okay, so I'll try and be. So remember, King Parikshit is starving for 7 days in a row. He's not eating or drinking. He's fasting till death because he has been cursed to be bitten by a snake. Yep. So now, how many days have we been fasting? Probably 5, 6, because we started from Canto 1. And after 7 days, we are finished with Canto 12. So now we're in the middle. Actually, we're near the end of Canto 10. So he must have fasted at least for 5 days. So I will try and sound like him now, having fasted. But at the same time, he's very enlivened, actually, by the Bhagavatam, because he's saying, actually, that I don't feel any trouble by fasting, or he didn't even sleep, actually, very much. Yeah. So anyway, so Shukadeva Goswami is asking, since Vedic knowledge generally deals with the subject matter of the three qualities of the material world, how then can it approach the subject matter of transcendence, which is beyond the approach of the three material modes? Since the mind is material and the vibration of words is a material sound, how can the Vedic knowledge expressing the vibration of words, expressing by material sound the thoughts of the material mind, approach transcendence? Well, so description of such a subject matter necessitates describing its source of emanation, its qualities, and its activities. Such description can be possible only by thinking with the material mind and by vibrating material words. Brahman, or the absolute truth, has no material qualities, but our power of speaking does not go beyond the material qualities. How then can Brahman, the absolute truth, be described by your words? I do not see how it is possible to understand transcendence from such expressions of material sound. Actually, this has been explained thoroughly, in our books of logic and stuff like that. So if you allow me, I'll just basically explain, what is a word, So a word is actually divided. You can have four different ways you can understand a word. Okay, so a word can convey 4 different meanings, or what can I say, 4 characteristics. See if I can get it right. So the first one, it is, as we know, I'll try and get the Sanskrit, and then, let's see, it was, dravya. I think I mentioned dravya just recently. So dravya, it means, it means substance. So for example, water is a dravya, right? Or you can say a cow is a dravya. So substance. So I'll give a vivid example afterwards, so we can really drive this point home about these different things. So first you have dravya, substance. And the next thing a word can talk about is jati. That means a class. Yeah, class of things. So, for example, see, a substance is a cow. So, a specific cow, yeah, is a substance. Yeah, and then as a class, then you talk about, you know, cows in general. So, you can, for example, you can say cows are, you know, cows are, you know, yeah, are worshipable, for example. Yeah, so in that way, you know, you have a class. So you're not talking about one cow now. You talk about them as a class. So that's another way you can use a word. And then the next one is, what was that again? Yeah, guna. So guna means quality. So that's another you know, thing you can convey with using a word. So that means, for example, a cow is cute, or you can say, yeah, right?
So not directly about the cow, but it's more like the qualities of
Yeah,
the cow.
yeah, okay. I was going to say a cow is white. I say a cow is brown, for example.
Right.
You're talking about a specific cow. Yeah.
I think I understand, yeah.
Yeah, and then the next one, the last one is, yeah, it's activities, kriya.
Oh.
Activity. Yeah. So what does a cow do, right? A cow, it eats grass, right? You know. So that and apparently, you know, according to, you know, logicians like that, you cannot actually have any more importance from a word. This is the only thing you can have from the word. You can have you know, that a word can be a substance. That means, you know, a cow as a substance. A cow, you know, cows are worshipable as a class you can talk about, or a quality, a cow is brown, or an action, cows, they're eating grass, like that. So you cannot have anything more out of a word. So how can then a word, you know, describe Brahman? Because Brahman, so Brahman, you know, which was the discussion here, you know, or the supreme, the absolute truth, yeah, right? The absolute truth is by definition, you know, nothing of this. Brahman doesn't have substance. It's all-encompassing whole. You cannot limit it to a substance, right? You cannot limit it to a specific class because it's all everything, right? You cannot limit Brahman to one quality also. You cannot say Brahman is soft. It's also hard.
No.
It's everything. At the same time, you cannot limit Brahman to a quality because it's everything. Everything that's happening is Brahman, right? So, activity. It's also all activities. So Brahman, by absolute truth, is by definition none of the above. You know, and that is called nirdesha. Yeah. So anirdesha. Yeah. So it means you cannot describe it. Yeah. It is undescribable. Yeah. Undescribable. That's one of the definitions of Brahman. Yeah. So then, how can we sit here and talk about the absolute truth, Brahman? Because you cannot actually describe it with words. Yes. So this is, you know, the thing. So now it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how you know, Shukadeva Goswami is going to pull this off to answer, you know, this riddle. Yeah, so let's see. So the purpose of King Parikshit's inquiry was to ascertain from Shukadeva Goswami whether the Vedas ultimately describe the absolute truth as impersonal or as personal. Understanding of the absolute truth progresses in three features: impersonal Brahman, Paramatma, localized in everyone's heart, and at last, the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna. So as we'll dawn to us, you know, the above, you know, is the Brahman when it's impersonal. So to add to what we had above, the above is talking about Nirguna Brahman. Right?
I even think Nirguna in itself is pretty intangible.
Yeah, that's the point. You know, Brahman without qualities.
Is it simply the process of, it seems, negatives, like not this, not this, not this?
Yes. It's like the Zen monks, you know, they're talking about, you know, what's the sound of one hand clapping. They have these kind of riddles. But lo and behold, when we talk about the personal Brahman, so Saguna Brahman, then suddenly, you have a supreme absolute person. That's Krishna. And he has form, he has activities, he has qualities. Suddenly you have all of these things. So then you can describe him with words, you see?
Yeah.
Because he has all the qualities. It's only when something doesn't have any qualities you can't describe him, right? With words. But Krishna is sweet. Yeah, Krishna is friendly. He is, approachable. Yeah. It's a misunderstanding of God to think that he is unapproachable, for example.
Yeah, and specifically the quality of God that deals with, neutrality. Being equally disposed to everyone.
Yeah. In one sense he is, but at the same time Krishna says that he's favorable to his devotees. He says, for example, in Bhagavatam, the devotees are living in my heart, I'm living in the heart of my devotees.
Yeah.
This and that, I protect especially my devotees. Everybody else is going to hell except my devotees. So, yeah.
It seems like this is like a way for him to, cut open this idea that impersonalism,
Yeah, because a person he has likes and dislikes. So Krishna has that.
Because the Brahman, the ultimate truth, absolute truth, is supposed to be, completely neutral. No.
Exactly,
no
a good point. Yeah. It's completely neutral. So that's why you can't have a relationship in Brahman, in Nirguna Brahman. There's no relationship, and of course, then you have a lot of peace, because we know that all unrest and peacelessness, all fights are coming from relationships. Even the best of friends, sometimes they're getting on their nerves, right? So in that way, but then there is also no flavor. When you don't have anybody, then everything is just boring. I mean, or you can say peaceful. There is nothing really happening. So personalists, they rather be in trouble and be personal than not being in trouble and be impersonal. So that's why you see devotees don't have any. Yeah. Devotees don't have any issue being in trouble. That's daily menu for a devotee. So in that way, it can all be reconciled with the personality of Godhead. That's why Prabhupada was coining that term, the supreme personality of Godhead. It's like five letters just for one word, Bhagavan or Ishvara. He's using it like huge kind of constructed, a term, the supreme personality of Godhead. Prabhupada really wanted to drill home that point. You see, like just in this, personality. You can see just in this, two next paragraph, he's going to mention this supreme personality like 5 times or 6. Yeah. You want to read on, Prabhu?
Of course.
The Vedas. Yeah.
The Vedas deal with 3 departments of activities. One is called karma kanda, or activities under Vedic injunction, which gradually purify one to understand his real position. The next is jnana kanda, the process of understanding the absolute truth by speculative methods. And the third is upasana kanda, or the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and sometimes of the demigods also. The worship of the demigods is recommended in the Vedas, is ordered with the understanding of the demigods' relationship to the personality of Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has many parts and parcels. Some are called svamshas, or his personal expansions, and some are called vibhinamshas, the living entities. All such expansions, both svamshas and vibhinamshas, are emanations from the original personality of Godhead. Svamsha expansions are called Vishnu Tattva, whereas vibhinamsha expansions are called Jiva Tattva. The different demigods are Jiva Tattva. The conditioned souls are generally put into the activities of the material world for sense gratification. Therefore, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita, to regulate those who are very much addicted to different kinds of sense gratification, the worship of demigods is sometimes recommended. Okay, so just hold on that, because we have Svamsha and Vibhinamsha. So one of them are Vishnu and another one is Jiva Tattva. So Vibhinamsha, Vibhina means separated. So the Jiva Tattvas are the separated parts. Amsha means part. So and then Sva means the self. So the Lord self's expansions.
So he's expanding himself, and that's called Vishnu Tattva. So all his expansions, all his you could say incarnations and like that. Krishna is coming as the man line incarnation.
Yeah.
That's Swamsha.
But also this Vishnu Tattva is people often say they are non-different from Krishna, right?
Yeah. They are non-different. Jiva is always different, and that's why he's prone to get under the material energy. In another sense, Vibhinamsha is also called Tatashta Shakti. So he's always in the borderline between matter and spirit, and he's prone to duck under the waves of the material energy. Unless you take really shelter.
So many different things we can move into to talk about, but I think we're running on the time. So.
Yeah, we do. We have a big chunk to read on. Okay, so you can read on, for example.
Demigods sometimes recommended. For example, for persons very much addicted to meat eating, the Vedic injunction recommends that after worshipping the form of the goddess Kali and sacrificing a goat, not any other animal, under karma kanda regulation, the worshipper may be allowed to eat meat. The idea is not to encourage one to eat meat, but to allow one who insists on eating meat to eat it under certain restricted conditions. Therefore, the worship of demigods is not worship of the absolute truth, but by worshiping the demigods, one gradually comes to accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead in an indirect way. This indirect acceptance is described in the Bhagavad Gita as avidhi. Avidhi means not bona fide, since demigod worship is not bona fide. The impersonal stress concentration on the impersonal feature of the absolute truth.
Let's hold on that, because I try to understand this. So, yeah, so if you see this... it said, by worshipping demigods, it's avidhi. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, he says, avidhi purvakam. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, they worship me, but it's avidhi purvakam. He says it's done. Actually, it's avidhi means to follow, the rules, and avidhi means not to follow the rules. Then obviously, so he says, they are doing the worship, but they're doing it, not properly, not really following the rules. They do out of their own way, but then you can say people are following, following the rules from some books. It said, you should worship demigods in this way, and they're actually following. But so in that way, it doesn't really mean not following any rules, but it means not following my rule. Krishna's personal rule is, sarva dharma parityaya mame kam sharanam. Just give up all these other Vedas, all this dharma, give it up, and just have bhakti for me. So in Krishna's system, then everything which is not going to bhakti to him is not bona fide, is avidya actually. But if you are not into Krishna bhakti, then it may be vidhi for another system. Say some Shiva worshippers or Durga worshippers, they may do things and it may be correct according to their system. You understand? So that way, when they are doing this worship of demigods, they are actually going to be rewarded by the demigods for doing that. And so in that way, the system actually works, because it's a Vedic system. If you follow it, it will work. That's the meaning of Vedic, that it actually works. But it doesn't work for getting you liberated, and it doesn't work for giving you love of God. That's the idea.
It's this gradual development of attachment for Krishna, right?
Yeah. So it will not be a personal attraction, because both the worshippers of Durga and other demigods, they usually are told in their books, in the other Puranas or other books about demigods worship. It's always stressed about the impersonal Brahman, that is the goal, to get moksha, to be liberated. And in that way, that's going to be the ultimate fruit of worshipping demigods, to get liberation. But the devotees are not at all interested in liberation, they just want to see Krishna. So that's why, according to the Bhakti book of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Gita is a Bhakti book, it's a Vaishnava book, right?
There's almost no end to it, it seems, because, even if you, like the devotee is also a little bit, I guess, the real devotees, I guess, the pure devotee doesn't even, it derives even the idea of liberation.
Yeah, exactly. So when you get bhakti, it derives, it's moksha laguta krit. I think we had that in the Bhakti Rasamrita. It makes liberation look like very small and insignificant.
It was really a blasting liberation,
yeah. So then have King Parikshit's question was, which is the ultimate target of Vedic knowledge? This concentration on the impersonal feature of the absolute truth, or concentration on the personal feature? After all, both the impersonal and the personal feature of the Supreme Lord are beyond our material conception. The impersonal feature of the absolute, the Brahman effulgence, is but the rays of the personal body of Krishna. Oh, I forgot to check on our somebody's in our chat. Let's see.
On Zoom?
Yeah, no, on YouTube.
Okay.
Looked like nobody appeared there. No. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just scroll down a little bit, and in answering King Parikshit's question, Shukadeva Goswami replied that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has created the mind, senses, and living force of the living entity for the purpose of sense gratification. Big surprise, yeah? And transmigration from one kind of body to another. So that's a part of sense gratification. That you just after death, you just go to another body and continue that sense gratification. It's like the hamster wheel. Yeah.
Because he would know that we would think after just one life, he would be like, no, it's not enough. I need to make more of my kingdom,
Yeah. It's like our desires are being catered to in the material world. But the next thing, as well as for the purpose of allowing liberation from the material conditions. So the material world is also created so that we can be liberated from the material conditions. And the best liberation is then, according to us, to be a personalist, to get Krishna Bhakti and go to Krishna. Yeah. In other words, one can utilize the senses, mind, and living force for sense gratification and transmigration from one body to another, or for the matter of liberation. The Vedic injunctions are there just to give the conditioned souls the chance for sense gratification and the regulative principles, and thereby also to give them the chance for promotion to higher conditions of life. Ultimately, if the consciousness is purified, one comes to his original position and goes back home, back to Godhead. Yeah. So I think I'll just scroll down, and now Prabhupada is going to talk about he'll talk about in the Vedanta Sutra. Yeah, I'll read in the Vedanta Sutra.
Okay.
Do you see it? In the Vedanta Sutra, the first sutra or code questions about the absolute truth. Atata Brahma Jigyasa.
How much text there is? We are not even 1/8 of the way now.
Yeah. So we're not going to stay for more than 1 hour, so don't worry. Tomorrow we're going to get through it. So the Vedanta Sutra, it's this compact book. It's like a zip code of all the Vedic knowledge.
Because actually, Shukadeva, he said, I found he's going to narrate a story actually to just summarize, all this complicated knowledge.
Yeah. In one sense, you have it summarized in the Vedanta Sutra, and then this knowledge is expanded then in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahma Sutra Bhasya, it's called. So in that way, Vedanta Sutra is also sometimes called Brahma Sutra. So basically, it's just telling in small couplets like that. Atata Brahma Jigyasa. Now is the time to understand Brahman. So in other words, it means when you're a human being, you should go for a spiritual life and get liberated. Yeah. And then as Prabhupada says, the next sutra answers that the nature of the absolute truth is that he is the origin of everything, and then it's Janmadi Asya Yataha. It means Janma Adi, so starting with creation, and then of course it's implied that you have three things: creation, maintenance, and destruction. Asya Yataha. So the one from whom these things are coming from. So that is God. That's the definition of God. From him comes creation, maintenance, and destruction. So in other words, he's in charge of everything that goes on here. Yeah. Whatever we experience, even in this material condition of life, is but an emanation from him. The absolute truth created the mind, senses, and intelligence. It means that the absolute truth is not without mind, intelligence, and senses. In other words, he is not impersonal. The very word created means that he has transcendental intelligence. For example, when a father begets a child, the child has senses because the father also has senses. Amazing, eh? Sometimes it is said that man is made after the image of God, intelligence. When one's mind, intelligence, and senses are purified of material contamination, one can understand the original feature of the absolute truth as a person. Now YouTube is complaining about the streamer. Oh, I forgot to take it on my... Sorry, I should have it on my personal hotspot, because I'm streaming on the main Wi-Fi, and it's always too weak for YouTube. Oh, now it got good again. Yeah, so sorry for that. Any takes on this, Prabhu? Should we discuss this, or you want to read on?
there's so much. I think
we're not forced to read the whole text. We can discuss what we like to discuss, and move on.
Yeah.
That's
okay,
fine.
Okay. Then I'm not gonna consider any time, and we can just talk about what we think.
Yeah. But if you have some everything is clear, right? It's not that complicated yet. Yeah. So Prabhupada is then writing, the Vedic process is to promote the conditioned soul gradually from the mode of ignorance to the mode of passion, and from the mode of passion to the mode of goodness. So this thing we sometimes, you can't really jump straight from the darkest pit of ignorance into the purest mode of goodness. It's like, you say you have a set of stairs, and you're on the first or second, step on the stairs. Up, you have the top. You cannot jump now, all the way up. You're kind of bypassing, 17 steps, right? It's not really possible.
One who's actually able to chant Hare Krishna is actually doing exactly that.
Well, sometimes it's called the elevator. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can tell the elevator instead of going step by step. Yeah, if you're able to do that, then all glory to you. But those who are trying to step themselves, they will break their bones. They become, completely broken. But if they gradually will start, by 1 round, 2 round, 3 round, 4 round, gradually up to 16 round, like that, they'll be okay. So that's called the elevator. So that's called the elevator, and that can be done by, sometimes in the old-fashioned elevators, you have, actually there is a man in the elevator, right? Like he's dressed in a dress, right? Some kind of old-style elevator they had back 100 years ago, right? And that man is opening and closing the elevator. This was before you have fully automated elevators. In that way, you feel safe on the elevator. You don't have what you call this when you're afraid of closed rooms.
Claustrophobia.
Claustrophobia, because the elevator man is there with you. He knows how the elevator is working. He's pushing the button for you. He's very nice. He's dressed nicely, right?
Yeah.
So this person, who is that? That is the guru. So if we have that elevator man with us to help us into the elevator, he will push the button, he'll be with you there, you'll feel cool and peaceful. And then after you're finished with your ride, you just give him a little tip and go on. So this is actually the guru. So then, we can actually take the elevator instead of going all these steps all the way to the top of the skyscraper. So this is
easy to fall down because we're really fumbling in the dark.
Yeah, and especially if you do the major offense of offending the elevator man, who actually knows how the elevator works. He's taking you. He knows he was helping you to go there, and then want to offend him. Then there is no way you can make it, right? So
if you're so much determined that you reject it, maybe you have enough determination to climb a little bit as a yogi or something.
Well, I mean, it will be kind of rascaldom if the elevator man was getting you and one doesn't have any, thankfulness for him.
Yeah.
And just blast his personal life or something like that.
But we're all the rascals in this stage, kind of.
Yeah. So that way, there may be some defect with the elevator. One may go elevated up, and then some or other, the elevator is just blasting down and falling down to the first stair, because of some, offense with the elevator system. I mean, you can take this analogy far away, but you get the point. So that way, we are allowed to take care of the guru, to feel thankful and learn from the guru. In that way, our elevation will be more secure. Yeah, and painless also. That's the idea. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, I guess we were also talking a lot about what is the natural bhakti of the particular soul, right? The Sanatana Dharma of the soul. Because there's also, we were talking descriptively about this, that, actually, that bhakti can be so many things, right?
Well, in one way, the form of bhakti, the format, it may be, it may take different shapes, but in absolute sense, bhakti is only one. It simply is prema, or bhava. It cannot be anything else. Yeah.
And this is always taking place in the natural state of the soul.
Yeah.
Natural core of the heart.
Yeah. The abode of bhakti is, in the chit shakti or spiritual, realm. And that is also the soul realm. That's where all the atmas are, actually. In the liberated state, the Atma is always, in the Chit Shakti. So there, you have Satchit and Ananda. You have eternality, knowledge, and bliss there, and that's why Bhakti is thriving there, in never falling sick. Yeah, so that's the idea. So actually, I just wanted to read a little bit of what Prabhupada is saying here, and then we can move down, because it says something very interesting. He says, in the mode of goodness, there is sufficient light for understanding things as they are. For example, from earth a tree grows, and from the wood of the tree fire is ignited. In that igniting process, we first of all find smoke, and the next stage is heat and then fire. When there is actually fire, we can utilize it for various purposes, therefore fire is the ultimate goal. Okay, we can follow that now. Yeah. Similarly, in the gross material stage of life, the quality of ignorance is very prominent. Dissipation of this ignorance takes place in the gradual progress of civilization from the barbarian stage to civilized life. And when one comes to the stage of civilized life, he is said to be in the mode of passion. So see, now we're in the civilized life, we're in the mode of passion. Hooray. Yeah.
Very civilized.
In the barbarian stage, or in the mode of ignorance, the senses are gratified in a very crude way. I think we all can attest to that. Whereas in the mode of passion, or in civilized life, the senses are gratified in a polished manner. But when one is promoted to the mode of goodness, one can understand that the senses and the mind are engaged in material activities only due to being covered by perverted consciousness. So in that way, one is kind of not after being gratified, one is simply just observing, right? You see the difference? He said that mode of goodness is kind of a serene stage, even sometimes described as inactive. One is just chilling, one is just peaceful, one doesn't need to run all over the town. When this perverted consciousness is gradually transformed into Krishna consciousness, then the path of liberation is opened. Sometimes people are talking like this is some kind of spiritual alchemy. You have this, originally consciousness is perverted, and then you kind of transform it into something else. So that's alchemy, Yeah, so it's not that one is unable to approach the absolute truth by the senses and the mind. The conclusion is rather that the senses, mind, and intelligence in the growth stage of contamination cannot appreciate the nature of the absolute truth. But when purified, the senses, mind, and intelligence can understand what absolute truth is. The purifying process is called devotional service or Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So any takes on this? It looks like we don't have any. Yeah.
It doesn't explicitly say so, but it kind of reveals that there is a golden order in the gunas also. That there is just a staircase, like exactly like you said.
Yeah, that's very nicely said. Yeah, thank you. It really is a staircase, and the staircase is it is taking you where we're supposed to go, upwards. It is really happening, and it becomes more and more evident the more you really get into it. But at the same time, it's kind of a hidden and mystical thing, because it's called Guyam. So this makes it not easier for us; it makes it more difficult, because sometimes people have been doing spiritual life and they fall out of it, or they quit, and they afterwards they're interviewed and said, this thing was just very uncertain, and they kind of forget all about it, and they say, no, this is a real life, the material life is tangible, now I'm happy, right? But actually, the spiritual life is actually the eternal happiness. If one gets into it, it's a mystical thing. We have to admit that. Krishna is, he likes mystical stuff. Okay, he is the ultimate mystic. He says, "Yoganam apin sarvesham matkatena artaratmana." Says in Bhagavatam, the best yogi is he who gets to me, which is, anta, who is inside the soul, antaratmana, or inside the heart. So it is, and Krishna says, many times in Bhagavatam, now I'll tell you the most confidential knowledge, and now I'll tell you some knowledge which is even more confidential than what I spoke before. So Krishna is definitely going very mystical and very hidden and, confidential. So if we want to deal with Krishna, we are going that way. It has to be like that.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So it will be, very, mystical and kind of, entering, uncharted territory. Yeah. So that's what you can change it, It will be like that, really. So anyway, I think we go down, and now we'll see down probably saying, now we'll go actually all the way back to Shukadeva Swami, so I can again, impersonate the voice, but now of Shukadeva Swami. Shukadeva Swami continued to speak to Parikshit Maharaj. My dear king, he said, in this regard I shall narrate a nice story. This story is important because it is in connection with Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This narration is a conversation between Narayan Rishi and the great sage Narada. Yeah, so Narayan Rishi still resides in Badrikashrama and is accepted as an incarnation of Narayana. Yeah, so that's up in the Himalayas. So, we just fast forward a little bit. So the great sage Narayan began to speak. So now Narayan is speaking. He's the most ascetic, incarnation of God. So I'll try and have a special voice for him. Yeah. My dear Narada, he said, I shall teach you a story which took place long, long ago. There was a great meeting of the denizens of the heavenly planets, and almost all the important brahmacharis, such as the 4 Kumaras, Sanandana, Sanaka, Sanatana, and Sanat Kumara, attended. Their discussion was on the subject matter of understanding the absolute truth, Brahman. You were not present at that meeting because you had gone to see my expansion, Anuruddha, who lives on the island of Shvetadvip. In this meeting, all the great sages and brahmacharis very elaborately discussed the point about which you have asked me, and their discussion was very interesting. It was so delicate that even the Vedas were unable to answer the intricate questions raised. Yeah.
That's so funny.
So Narayan Rishi told Naradaji that the same question Naradaji had raised had been discussed in that meeting on Janaloka. So there is now we have many stories packed into each other, kind of, yeah. So this is the way of understanding through the parampara or the cyclic succession. Maharaj Parikshit questioned Shukadeva Goswami, and Shukadeva Goswami referred to the matter to Narada, who had in the same way questioned Narayan Rishi, who had put the matter to still higher authorities on the planet of Janaloka, where it was discussed among the great Kumaras, Sanatana, Sanaka, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara. Yeah, so these are, the great, scholars, Shastric, mystics. So now, one of these are going to speak, Sanandana. So now I will have the voice of him. And remember, they are the 4 Kumaras. They're eternal, boys. They're below puberty, they're eternal brahmacharis because of that. So he will have the voice of a boy. Okay? After the dissolution of the whole cosmic manifestation, the entire energy and the whole creation in its nucleus form enter into the body of Garbhoda Kashaya Vishnu. The Lord at that time remains asleep for a long, long time. And when there is again necessity of creation, the Vedas personified assemble around the Lord and begin to glorify him, describing his wonderful transcendental pastimes, exactly like servants of a king. When the king is asleep in the morning, the appointed reciters come around his bedroom and begin to sing of his chivalrous activities. And while hearing of his glorious activities, the king gradually awakens. The Vedic reciters, or the personified Vedas, sing thus: O unconquerable Lord, you are the Supreme Personality. No one is equal to you or greater than you. No one can be more glorious in his activities. All glory is unto you, all glory is unto you. By your own transcendental nature, you fully possess all 6 opulences. As such, you are able to deliver all conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya. O Lord, we fervently pray that you kindly do so. All the living entities, being your parts and partials, are naturally joyful, eternal, and full of knowledge. But, due to their own faults, they imitate you by trying to become the supreme enjoyer. Thus they disobey your supremacy and become offenders. And because of their offenses, your material energy has taken charge of them. Thus their transcendental qualities of joyfulness, bliss, and wisdom have been covered by the clouds of the 3 material qualities. This cosmic manifestation made of the 3 material qualities is just like a prison house for the conditioned souls. The conditioned souls are struggling very hard to escape from material bondage, and according to their different conditions of life, they have been given different types of engagements. But since all engagements are based on knowledge supplied by you, the conditioned souls can execute pious activities only when you mercifully inspire them to do so. Therefore, without taking shelter at your lotus feet, one cannot surpass the influence of the material energy. Actually, we as personified Vedic knowledge are always engaged in your service by helping the conditioned souls understand you. So this prayer of the Vedas personified illustrates that the Vedas are meant for helping the conditioned souls to understand Krishna. All the Shrutis or personified Vedas offered glories to the Lord again and again, singing Jaya, Jaya. This indicates that the Lord is the most glorious. All his glories, the most important is his causeless mercy upon the conditioned souls in reclaiming them from the clutches of Maya. So again, we're going to go fast forward. Let's see. So Prabhupada is saying here that the statements of the personified Vedas give clear evidence that the Vedic literature is presented only for understanding Krishna. There is actually a lot of prayers from these personified Vedas if you look in the original Bhagavatam.
Yeah.
And they're all, centering around Krishna. Yeah, what did you say?
I think it's really nice when they reach that conclusion that all the purpose of this knowledge, is to understand you and to worship you in your personal form. I think that's very sweet.
It is very, very sweet. Yeah, so the Prabhupada says that the Bhagavad Gita confirms that through all the Vedas, it is Krishna alone who has to be understood. Krishna is always enjoying either in material world or in the spiritual world, because he is the supreme enjoyer. For him, there is no distinction between the material and spiritual worlds. The material world is an impediment for the ordinary living entities because they are under its control. But Krishna, being the controller of the material world, has nothing to do with the impediments it offers. Therefore, in different parts of the Upanishads, the Vedas declare, the Supreme Brahman is eternal, full of all knowledge and all bliss. That one Supreme Personality of Godhead exists in the hearts of every living entity. Yeah, and then we'll go a little bit down again. And employing this analogy of Brahman with earth, the impersonalists especially stress the Vedic statement, Sarvam Khalv Idam Brahma. Everything is Brahman. The impersonalists do not take into account the varieties of manifestation emanating from the Supreme Cause Brahman. So we have discussed this before. They think all is homogeneously one. Yeah. So they simply consider that everything emanates from Brahman and after destruction merges into Brahman, and that the intermediate stage of manifestation is also Brahman. So the intermediate stage, that's where we are now, according to that. Yeah. So, but we can fast forward and see here. Because now Prabhupada is actually saying that Krishna is the Supreme Brahman because of his unlimited knowledge, unlimited potencies, unlimited strength, unlimited influence, unlimited beauty, and unlimited renunciation. Ultimately, therefore, the word Brahman can be applied to Krishna only. Arjuna affirms that because the impersonal Brahman is the effulgence emanating as rays of Krishna's transcendental body, Krishna is the Para Brahman. Everything rests on Brahman, but Brahman itself rests on Krishna. Therefore, Krishna is the ultimate Brahman or Para Brahman. So then we go down and we say here Prabhupada is referring to this Vedic aphorism. Sarvam Khalv Idam Brahma means that everything is Krishna in the sense that everything is his energy. Because, in our Vaishnava literature, you can say Brahma and it can actually mean Krishna or the Supreme Personality of Godhead also. It doesn't need to mean only you can say Brahman energy. It can mean directly, Krishna. Yeah, that is the vision of the Mahabhagavatas. They see everything in relation to Krishna. The impersonalists argue that Krishna himself has been transformed into many and that therefore everything is Krishna and worship of anything is worship of him. This false argument is answered by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. You have heard that verse, Maya tatamidam savam jagat avyakta murtina matstani sarva bhutani nacham tesho astitaha. So Krishna says, although I am in them, so Prabhupada says, although everything is a transformation of the energy of Krishna, he is not present everywhere. He is simultaneously present and not present. By his energy, he is present everywhere, but as the energetic, he is not present everywhere. This simultaneous presence and non-presence is inconceivable to our present senses.
Completely.
Yeah. So, how should you deal? Krishna advises everyone just to surrender unto him alone, and that is the way of Vedic instruction. So back to, the instruction in the Bhagavad Gita. The main instruction is, Sarva Dharma Parityajya, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So he says, to Arjuna, just chill, Arjuna. Forget about all this dharma. Just surrender to me, and everything will be okay, like that. Yeah. So we'll just go down and see what more does the four Vedas say. Let's see. Yeah. So here we have the personified Vedas continued to pray. So now the personified Vedas will continue to speak. I just need to take a deep breath. Dear Lord, considering all points of view, if a person has to worship someone superior to himself, then just out of good behavior, he should stick to the worship of your lotus feet, because you are the ultimate controller of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. You are the controller of the three worlds, Bhuva, and Svaha. You are the controller of the 14 upper and lower worlds. And you are the controller of the three material qualities. Demigods and persons advanced in spiritual knowledge always hear and chant about your transcendental pastimes, because this process has the specific potency of nullifying the accumulated results of sinful life. Intelligent persons factually dip into the ocean of your nectarian activities and very patiently hear about them. Thus they are immediately freed from the contamination of the material qualities. They do not have to undergo severe penances and austerities for advancement in spiritual life. This chanting and hearing of your transcendental pastimes is the easiest process for self-realization. Simply by submissive oral reception of the transcendental message, one's heart is cleansed of all dirty things. Thus, Krishna consciousness becomes fixed in the heart of a devotee. And the Personified Vedas, they are continuing. Dear Lord, the Personified Vedas continued. The devotee who wants to elevate himself simply by the process of devotional activities, especially by hearing and chanting, very soon comes out of the clutches of the dualities of material existence. By this simple process of penance and austerity, the super soul within the devotee's heart is very pleased and gives the devotee directions so that he may go back home, back to Godhead. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that one who engages all his activities and senses in the devotional service of the Lord becomes completely peaceful because the super soul is satisfied with him. Thus the devotee becomes transcendental to all dualities such as heat and cold, honor and dishonor. Being freed from all dualities, he feels transcendental bliss, and he no longer suffers cares and anxieties due to material existence. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that the devotee always absorbed in Krishna consciousness has no anxieties for his maintenance or protection. Being constantly absorbed in Krishna consciousness, he ultimately achieves the highest perfection. While in material existence, he lives very peacefully and blissfully, without cares and anxieties. And after quitting this body, he goes back home, back to Godhead. The Lord confirms in the Bhagavad Gita. So now the Personified Vedas is impersonating Krishna's voice. Okay, so now I'll be a different voice. My supreme abode is a transcendental place from which, having gone, one never returns to this material world. Anyone who attains the supreme perfection, being engaged in my personal devotional service in the eternal abode, reaches the highest perfection of human life and does not have to come back to the miserable material world. The Personified Vedas continued. So actually in the original story in the Bhagavatam, there are different Personified Vedas actually. There are for each of the different Vedas they are speaking. So they may have different voices.
Wow.
Yeah, so now I'll be another Personified Veda. Okay?
That's so amazing.
Yeah. Dear Lord, it is imperative that the living entities be engaged in Krishna consciousness, always rendering devotional service by such prescribed methods as hearing and chanting and executing your orders. If a person is not engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, it is useless for him to exhibit the symptoms of life. Generally, if a person is breathing, he is accepted to be alive. But a person without Krishna consciousness may be compared to a bellows in a blacksmith's shop. The big bellows in a bag of skin which exhales and inhales air, and a human being who simply lives within that bag of skin and bones, without taking to Krishna consciousness and loving devotional service, is no better than the bellows. Similarly, a non-devotee's long duration of life is compared to the long existence of a tree. His voracious eating capacity is compared to the eating of dogs and hogs, and his enjoyment in sex life is compared to that of hogs and goats. Yes. The cosmic manifestation has been made possible because of the entrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Mahavishnu within this material world. The total material energy is agitated by the glance of Mahavishnu, and only then does the interactions of the three material qualities begin. Therefore, it should be concluded that whatever material facilities we are trying to enjoy are available only due to the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. So Prabhupada gives a little background information. Within the body, there are 5 different departments of existence, known as Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and at last Anandamaya. In the beginning of life, every living entity is food conscious. A child or an animal is satisfied only by getting nice food. This stage of consciousness, in which the goal is to eat sumptuously, is called Annamaya. Anna means food. After this, one lives in the consciousness of being alive. If one can continue in his life without being attacked or destroyed, one thinks himself happy. This stage is called pranamaya, or consciousness of one's existence. After this stage, when one is situated on a mental platform, his consciousness is called manomaya. The materialistic civilization is primarily situated in these three stages: anamaya, pranamaya, and manomaya. The first concern of civilized persons is economic development. Next concern is defense against being annihilated. And next consciousness is mental speculation, the philosophical approach to the values of life. Yeah. If by evolutionary process of philosophical life one happens to reach the platform of intellectual life and understands that he is not this material body but a spiritual soul, he is situated in Vijnanamaya stage. Then by evolution in spiritual life he comes to the understanding of the Supreme Lord or Supreme Soul. When one develops his relationship with him and executes devotional service, that stage of life is called Krishna consciousness, the Anandamaya stage. So you saw now we went through these 5 stages. So these are explained in Taittiriya Upanishad. Yeah, it's called the 5 Panchakosha theory, the theory of 5 coverings. I mean, the impersonalists, they say that Anandamaya also is a covering, but because they think everything is just illusion. But for the devotees, this 5th stage is actually our original, stage we're supposed to be. Yeah. So Anandamaya is the blissful life of knowledge and eternity. As is stated in the Vedanta Sutra, Anandamaya Vyasat. Yeah. The Supreme Brahman and the subordinate Brahman, or the Supreme Personality of God and living entities, are both joyful by nature. As long as the living entities are situated in the lower 4 stages of life, Anamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya, they are considered to be in the material condition of life. But as soon as one reaches the stage of Anandamaya, he is a liberated soul. Yeah, so in the Bhagavad Gita, this Anandamaya stage is explained as the Brahma Bhuta stage. They said that in the Brahma Bhuta stage of life there is no anxiety and no hankering. Brahma Bhuta prasanatmana sorchati nakanchati. Yeah. Samasaveshu bhutashu matbhaktim labate param. Yeah. So Prabhupada says this stage begins when one is equally disposed toward all living entities, and it then expands to the stage of Krishna consciousness, in which one always hankers to render service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So didn't we just hear that it was no hankering, and now Prabhupada says you hanker to service to Krishna. Yeah, but Prabhupada actually, he gives an explanation. Yeah, he says this hankering for advancement in devotional service is not the same hankering for sense gratification in material existence. Just to have that clear, okay? In other words, hankering remains in spiritual life, but it becomes purified. Similarly, when our senses are purified, they are freed from all material stages, namely Anamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, and Vijnanamaya, and then they become situated in the high stage, Anandamaya, or blissful life in Krishna consciousness. So, as I mentioned, the Mayavadi philosophers consider Anandamaya to be the stage of being merged in the Supreme. To them, Anandamaya means that the Super Soul and individual soul become one. But the real fact is that oneness does not mean merging into Supreme and losing one's individual existence. Actually, I said something else, but because there are different kinds of, you can say, Mayavadis or Advaitavada philosophers. Some, they say that this Anandamaya is also something you should get beyond. You should get beyond the feeling of ecstasy or happiness also. Not to be attached to nothing. That's their idea. Anyway, let's see what the Personified Vedas say, if they still have something to say. Just scrolling down here. Yeah, Prabhupada is really expounding on this for a long time. Let's see. I'm sure they are saying something more down here somewhere.
Oh my God. You just keep going.
Yeah, that's a long way down.
The Personified Vedas continue to offer their obeisances. Dear Lord, they prayed.
Where are you reading from?
It's quite far down.
Okay.
There's many paragraphs.
Okay, let's see if I can find it.
It's a little less than 1/4 of the whole text.
Okay. A little less. Then I may have passed it. Okay, just see this. I'll do a search on it. Just say what does it say?
After many births, those who have actually become wise.
Okay, those who have actually become wise. Okay, let's see if we can find that. Hey, here we are. Very good. Thank you. I actually passed it. Yeah. Okay. So you want to read, Prabhu?
Okay. The Personified Vedas continue to offer their obeisances. Dear Lord, they prayed, after many births, those who have actually become wise take to the worship of your lotus feet in complete knowledge. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, wherein the Lord says that after many births, a great soul or Mahatma surrenders unto the Lord, knowing well that Vasudeva, Krishna, is the cause of all causes. The Vedas continue. As already explained, Since the mind, intelligence, and senses have been given to us by God, when these instruments are actually purified, there's no alternative but to engage them in all the devotional service of the Lord. Living entity's entrapment in different species of life is due to the misapplication of his mind, intelligence, and senses in material activities.
That's a very nice way to put it, yeah? Misapplication.
Yeah. And various kinds of bodies are awarded as the result of a living entity's actions, and they are created by the material nature according to the living entity's desire. Because a living entity desires and deserves a particular kind of body, it is given to him by the material nature under the order of the Supreme Lord.
Okay, let's scroll down to the next place they are praying. Let's see.
It's really it's not that far actually.
No, it's you see it. The Personified Vedas continued. You can read.
I see the quotation ending a little further down.
Yeah, but that's from Sridhar Swami. But a little bit down there, then do you have again?
Okay. Dear Lord, it is very difficult to achieve perfect knowledge of the absolute truth. Your Lordship is so kind to the fallen souls that you have appeared in different incarnations and execute different activities. You appear even as a historical personality of this material world, and your pastimes are very nicely described in the Vedic literatures. Such pastimes are as attractive as the ocean of transcendental bliss. People in general have a natural inclination to read narrations in which ordinary jivas are glorified, but when they become attracted by the Vedic literature which delineate your eternal pastimes, they actually dip into the ocean of transcendental bliss. As a fatigued man feels refreshed by dipping into a reservoir of water, so the conditioned soul who is very much disgusted with material activities becomes refreshed and forgets all fatigue of material activities simply by dipping into the transcendental ocean of your pastimes, and eventually emerges into the ocean of transcendental bliss. The most intelligent devotees, therefore, do not take to any means of self-realization except devotional service and constant engagement in the 9 different processes of devotional life, especially hearing and chanting. When hearing and chanting about your transcendental pastimes, your devotees do not care even for the transcendental bliss derived from liberation or from merging into the existence of the Supreme. Such devotees are not interested even in so-called liberation, and they certainly have no interest in material activities for elevation to the heavenly planets for sense gratification. Pure devotees seek only the association of Paramahamsas, or great liberated devotees, so that they can continuously hear and chant about your glories. For this purpose, the pure devotee are prepared to sacrifice all comforts of life, even giving up the material comforts of family life and so-called society, friendship, and love. Those who have tasted the nectar of devotion by relishing the transcendental vibration of chanting your glories,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
do not care for any other spiritual bliss or material comforts, which appear to the pure devotee as less important than the straw in the street.
Great, I can read on. The Personified Vedas continued. Dear Lord, when a person is able to purify his mind, senses, and intelligence by engaging himself in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, his mind becomes his friend. Otherwise, his mind is always his enemy. When the mind is engaged in devotional service of the Lord, it becomes the intimate friend of a living entity, because the mind can then think of the Supreme Lord always. Your Lordship is eternally dear to a living entity. So when the mind is engaged in thought of you, one immediately feels the great satisfaction for which he has been hankering, life after life. When one's mind is thus fixed on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one does not take to any kind of inferior worship or inferior process of self-realization. By attempting to worship a demigod, or by taking to any other process of self-realization, the living entity becomes a victim of the cycle of birth and death, and no one can estimate how much the living entity is degraded by entering abominable species of life such as cats and dogs. Okay, so you'll see there is something more down here. Yeah, and I go just down there, and the Personified Vedas continued. Dear Lord, there are many mystic yogis who are very learned and deliberate in achieving the highest perfection of life. They engage themselves in the yogic process of controlling the life wave within the body. Concentrating the mind upon the form of Vishnu and controlling the senses very rigidly, they practice the yoga system, but even after much laborious austerity, penance and regulation, They achieve the same destination as persons inimical toward you. In other words, both the yogis and the great wise philosophical speculators ultimately attain the personal Brahman effulgence, which is automatically attained by the demons who are regular enemies of the Lord. Demons like Kamsa, Shishupal, and Dantavakra attain the Brahman effulgence because they constantly meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead out of enmity. The real point is to concentrate the mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Women such as the gopis were attracted to Krishna, being captivated by his beauty, and their mental concentration on Krishna was provoked by lust. They wanted to be embraced by the arms of Krishna, which resembled the beautiful round shape of a snake. Similarly, we, the Vedic hymns, simply concentrate our minds on the lotus feet of your lordship. Women like the gopis concentrate on you under the dictation of lust, and we concentrate upon your lotus feet to go back home, back to Godhead. Your enemies also concentrate upon you, thinking always of how to kill you. And yogis undertake great penances and austerities just to attain your impersonal effulgence. All these different persons, although concentrating their minds in different ways, achieve spiritual perfection according to their different perspectives, because you, O Lord, are equal to all your devotees. Isn't that fantastic to hear this?
Yeah.
So many different mindsets, but all of them, meditate on Krishna. That's why it's all going to have the same absolute result, because it's absolute. So we can see further, the personified Vedas is not stopping to speak. They have more to say. Let's say, now we're going to have a long way. Let's see, I'm soon getting there. Yeah, let's see.
Talking about philosophers.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah. So, in this way...
The Personified Vedas said,
Yeah, you can read.
Dear Lord, when a living entity by your grace only comes to the right conclusion about your exalted transcendental position, he no longer bothers with the different theories manufactured by the mental speculators or so-called philosophers.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, so in that way, so this is a reference to the speculative theories of Gautama, Kanada, Patanjali, and Kapila. Nir Ishvara. So why is writing Nir Ishvara? It's because it's talking about atheistic Kapila. There are two Kapilas. One is the son of Kardama Muni. Yeah, actually, Prabhupada is saying there are actually two Kapilas. One Kapila, son of Kardama Muni, is an incarnation of God, and the other is an atheist of the modern age. So Nir Ishvara Ishvara means God. So he doesn't acknowledge God. This is like the atheistic Kapila is often misrepresented to be a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Kapila, the incarnation of Godhead, appeared as a son of Kardama Muni long, long ago, during the time of Swayambhuva Manu. The modern age is the age of Vaivashvata Manu. Yeah, so we are in the seventh Manu. It's said in Gita also, we are Aham Vaishvana. I mean, Krishna says, we are coming from Vaivashvata Manu. The knowledge of Bhagavad Gita first spoke to Vaivashvata Manu. But actually, he's the seventh Manu. The first Manu in this day of Brahma is Swayambhuva Manu. Yeah. So each Manu is lasting for over 300 million years. So it's a long time since Swayambhuva Manu was around. Yeah. So in other words, it was a long time since Kardama Muni was around. According to Mayavada philosophy, this manifested world or material world is Mithya or Maya, false. The Mayavada preaching principle is Brahma, Satyam, Jagan, Mithya. Only the Brahman effulgence is true and the cosmic manifestation is illusory or false. But according to Vaishnava philosophy, this cosmic manifestation is true because it is created by a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yes, it's not false. Yeah. So that's very clear. Yeah. So let's see. What does the Personified Vedas says next?
Personified Vedas continue.
Yeah, you can read. Yeah.
Dear Lord, less intelligent men take to other ways of self-realization, but actually there is no chance of becoming purified from material contamination or of stopping the repeated cycle of birth and death unless one is a thoroughly pure devotee. Dear Lord, everything rests on your different potencies, and everyone is supported by you. As stated in the Vedas, Eko Bahunam Yo Vibhadhati Karama. Therefore, your Lordship is the supporter and maintainer of all living entities, demigods, human beings, and animals. Everyone is supported by you, and you are also situated in everyone's heart. In other words, you are the root of the whole creation. Therefore, those who engage in your devotional service without deviation, who always worship you, actually pour water on the root of the universal tree. By devotional service, therefore, one satisfies not only the personality of Godhead, but others also, because everyone is maintained and supported by him. Because a devotee understands all-pervasive feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is the most practical philanthropist and altruist. Thus, pure devotees thoroughly engaged in Krishna consciousness very easily overcome the cycle of birth and death. And they as much as jump over the head of death.
Very good. So thank you. I think we need to round off because I simply need to go. But we can see if we can scroll down and see some conclusion here.
About halfway.
Yeah. But the point is made. The personified Vedas, they are huge. They have a lot to say.
Yeah.
But basically, the same thing that the Lord is the Supreme Lord, and we just have to surrender unto Him. He's in control of everything. And that's the way to go to him, really. And he's the original. Yeah.
Concluding that devotional service unto the Supreme Lord is the ultimate goal.
Yeah. So I can read the last one, which I want to read. The personified Vedas continue their prayers. Dear Lord, your impersonal feature is explained in the Vedas. You have no hands, but you can accept all sacrifices offered to you. You have no legs, but you can walk more swiftly than anyone else. Although you have no eyes, you can see whatever happens in the past, present, and future. Although you have no ears, you can hear everything that is said. Although you have no mind, you can know everyone and everyone's activities, past, present, and future. And yet no one knows who you are. You know everyone, but no one knows you. Therefore you are the oldest and supreme personality. Yeah. So what more needs to be said? It's all, very clear. So we just scroll to the very bottom, and then Prabhupada, he gives his final verdict here. He says, in the end here, he says, this is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter. Simply by knowing the transcendental nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, one becomes free from the chains of the repetition of birth and death, and after quitting his present body, he goes back to Godhead. This is the conclusion of all the Vedas. So, we just heard, all the prayers of the Vedas, and their conclusion is this. Yeah. Thus, after understanding the prayers offered by personified Vedas, one should surrender unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 87th chapter of Krishna, praised by the personified Vedas. Jai. Yes, so we made it.
We really took the elevator on the last.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, by the help of Srila Prabhupada, then we were able to do it because Prabhupada simply gave the conclusion. So. Super. So thank you so much. We made it for 1 hour and 8 minutes. So it says 108, 108 is very auspicious. So I'll just end, while we have this magic number. But we can try again tomorrow, another day.
Yes.
Thanks so much, bro. Haribol.